All right.
From the Velvet Underground, this is Clef Notes.
We actually got a name this time. Whoa!
Hyping up your own theme song.
It's not even.
Who produced that? Who produced the theme song?
Oh yeah, my boy Rod Vaughn, the inventor.
Close friend.
Close friend, compatriot, the best.
Clef Notes is a show where we take 2 or 3 albums a week and just kind of pick them apart and talk about what we like, what worked, what didn't work, and then we talk a little bit about what we've been listening to. And I think we might have something else in store this week too, just because it was a little bit of a dry week.
Yeah, this week.
One big blue ball of an announcement for an album that never surfaced. There was a tweet by an Apple Music playlist curator who claimed that the internet was going to break Thursday night, Friday morning.
And everyone thought it was going to be Culture 2, and there were a whole bunch of different...
Yeah, or a Kanye West project, or a Chance the Rapper project, because there was a tweet about there should be in several choirs on there, and I mean, that actually doesn't sound that good to me, but I mean, still, just the idea that there's going to be something big, and then we just end up with like 6, kind of cool hip-hop projects, but like nothing even really that notable to talk on the show,
Big Crit,
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg.
Is that an EP or an album?
I'm pretty sure it was an album. I didn't really look too much into it because I don't know.
You know what I think's weird? We just had a big party weekend. I had 3 different people ask me if I had listened to it. And I'm like,
really?
Why is everybody listening to Snoop Dogg albums like the day after they come out in 2017?
Yeah, that's
especially when you had another one come out earlier this year. I digress, but that's very bizarre.
It's ridiculous because like I don't hear of a whole bunch of people talking about albums as like the day after they come out, unless it's like you or me or someone that's avidly following this. Well, and like people are like all over this fucking Snoop Dogg album, and I'm like, what?
It was just a very busy weekend too. Like if you're gonna sit down and you're like, I'm really jonesing for that Snoop Dogg album. Like, I just don't see that being the thing you'd put on. But hey, whatever. I guess it's some people's number one guy still.
Yeah, I mean he's still making music, so.
Okay,
still listenable.
What we're doing today is I've got a feature album. Andy's got a feature album. We don't have an overarching feature of the week.
We don't have a fresh album this week because everything that came out was subpar and not really.
Well,
or not subpar. It was just
I would talk about the Crit album, but I just don't think there's enough different stuff. Basically, he took what I like about his mixtapes and finally delivered on an album.
Mm-hmm.
That he doesn't usually do that. Like Cadillactica and Live from the Underground, they're good. They were sub mixtape quality though, and this, it's just he put out a double-sized mixtape, which is dope for people who like Southern rap, and I like Southern rap, but it just didn't do anything new for him, and that's why we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, I gave Cadillactica a listen, but it was I didn't.
No, it just doesn't hit the same way.
Yeah, right. So, I guess I gotta kind of give this one a listen at some point this week, but haven't really gotten to that yet.
And I'm not a big Yellow Wolf guy. I don't think Andy is either.
I listened to a couple tracks off that album, but I immediately turned it off. It wasn't hitting me the right way. But again, I might not have been in the right mindset, so I'll have to come back and listen to that. But anyways. So let's move on to our first album that we want to talk about, the new Choker album.
See, I even hesitate to call it new because we're a little late to this, but I guess everybody kind of is besides Pigeons and Planes. So yeah, Choker, an artist, 21 out of the Midwest, a little bit more east part of the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Totally self-produced. Plays almost every instrument on the project and is a vocalist and a writer. And he hasn't released a full project to my knowledge other than this. This is the only one available on major streaming services. I didn't do too much picking around. I'm sure you could find some loosies or demos or something, but this is really all that he has to present as himself as an artist right now. And you're only left with one image, that being the image on the album cover, which it's kind of even hard to tell what it is. It just kind of looks like a guy jumping up in the air, but like from the bottom. So you're getting this inferior view of him jumping up, and I think it fits the project well, but it doesn't tell you a lot about Choker as an artist, especially if that's all you're really getting. And the only other real piece of information out there is this brief interview that he did. Might have actually been at Pigeons and Planes, where like he kind of talks about wanting to perform live, hasn't done that yet, and how everybody should be influenced by Odd Future, which leads me to the first point. A lot of people the comments I was reading about this anyway, and even kind of Andy, I got like a little like 2-sentence take about this album, say that, yeah, it sounds like Frank Ocean verbatim, which there is undoubtedly some influence. I think this is like the second project where you can really like feel some of that Frank flavor in there. The first being Kevin Abstract's American Boyfriend, which it's kind of hard to argue that one, because I think most of that album was done by the time Blonde came out. But like with this, it had at least 9 months to set. I bet like just the kind of way that you make music, this guy makes music, it mirrors the same kind of way that Frank writes a little bit. So let's get into it a little bit. I kind of want to get your take before we go track by track. What did you think?
Yeah, I kind of side with the whole he sounds like Frank Ocean thing.
Does he sound like anybody else too? Because he also raps a fair amount in the project, and everything's very incomplete, which I know you said was kind of a turnoff for you.
I don't know. Like the thing about it was like I feel like if I had went into it not like having that like, oh, this is like this guy's like Frank Ocean,
Frank Ocean,
sort of thing.
Diet Frank Ocean.
Yeah, and like because everyone was talking about it like he's Diet Frank Ocean or whatever. I think I would have had a better reception of it, but like the whole time it's just like, oh yeah, this is just a Frank Ocean ripoff. It just feels like a Frank Ocean ripoff. But like there were good tracks on it. There were tracks that I enjoyed. The instrumentation I feel like was a little bit more verbose than some of Frank Ocean's tracks are.
Well, it just does weirder stuff, and I think it's because it doesn't really like you couldn't really slide this into any genre comfortably, and I think that's why. Well, I really enjoyed what this project was and what it kind of represents. I don't think it's for everybody by any means. Like, it doesn't have like much of a structure to speak of, and the instrumentation gets really out there.
Yeah.
And there's rarely a moment where there isn't some kind of vocals going on there, but a lot of the vocals are kind of unintelligible. There's not complete lyrics, which I know a lot of people didn't love that kind of stuff. When like Frank would just kind of like have his little riffs at like the end of Blonde or parts of Endless, just kind of where like he's making noises. Like Andy was telling me how he really hates the Frank Ocean moan.
Yeah, that's something like that he brings to this project that I'm just not really about.
Like the
yeah, just moan like
now.
Like
other people,
like a Kid Cudi sort of thing.
But see, other people eat that stuff up though. Like that's the whole reason I like Kid Cudi. I don't think Kid Cudi has a whole lot to say other than that. I mean, people talk shit about me, but yeah, it just like it's just nonsense. And
yeah, it just seems a little bit like unintelligible. Like it kind of comes off a little bit as lazy sometimes.
See, I just think you don't listen to the same kind of R&B as I do then, because like. You see the D'Angelos of the world do that, because like what R&B do you really listen to? You listen to the internet, which arguably isn't even totally R&B now. Sort of SZA. I don't think you really got into that project, and she does it too.
Well, I did really like Control when it came out. I haven't gone back to it, and I haven't listened to it since like a little after it came out.
Became mainstream.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of weird that that's big?
I mean, is it really that big?
Dude, it's like one of the 10 best-selling albums from this year.
Really?
I don't see. Actually, that reminds me. When I make statements like that, I'm going off just like backhand knowledge. I could be totally wrong about that. Last week when I called Andy out on his MF Doom and Del the Funky Homo Sapien thing, I was totally wrong. I misheard it and I didn't look into it. So sometimes when old Fritzy makes those claims. they aren't totally legit. But
I mean, yeah, we can be inaccurate on this podcast.
It's a fan podcast.
It's a fan podcast. Our information is construed sometimes, so it's not.
It's an opinion piece. But yeah, I do think that is mainstream now, and you hear like Love Galore places that you wouldn't normally hear that kind of stuff. But okay, anyways, back to this project. So yeah, the Frank Ocean comparisons. I went in because of that Hip Hop Heads post where they were like, hey, like if Blonde and Endless were a trilogy of albums, this would be the third one. And I kind of see where they're going with that, because Endless was recorded after Blonde, and you still haven't even listened to Endless, have you?
I haven't. No, I haven't like really.
I kind of want to do that. Maybe we'll do that next week if there's anything good. Because it's kind of cool, because it's kind of like you got the evolution of an album that didn't come out yet. It came out about like 3 days before Blonde dropped, and it's a lot weirder with the instruments, like the instrumentation, like you hear on here. Like there's like all these really short songs. Sometimes there's a couple of short songs thrown together in one track, and just a lot of undeveloped thoughts. But like that definitely puts you in the headspace that these kinds of guys are looking for. Like with Frank, I think he's like digging more for like an emotional response, and that's definitely what Choker's going for.
Is Choker new to the game?
That's what I was saying. I don't think he has anything else substantial released. He definitely doesn't have another project, but he probably has demos or something floating around. But maybe not. I mean, it might just be these 10 tracks.
Well, yeah. I mean, like with some of the newer artists, like some of them are trying to find their footing and trying to like hone their sound and stuff like that.
I would say that this is pretty dang distinct for a debut album. Like you definitely get a sense of voice in there, and if you didn't have the Frank Ocean like wreck attached to it when you're throwing it out there, like that's what I wanted to spell, I guess, with this part. Just he sounds like Milo Miguel. It sounds like Milo Miguel, and like even guys like Open Mike Eagle, like at parts, just like when he raps, he sounds like a different artist. And he's got like these little like vocal parts that are like little samples. That is kind of a Frank Ocean thing to do, though. Like it almost sounds like a Snapchat. Just there are all sorts of different vocals on these tracks, and like it almost feels like a collage, I guess, like of just like these moments. And I think the first half of the tape is a lot stronger than the second half.
Yeah.
You definitely like you get the little stars on iTunes where you see like what the popular songs are, and I think the reason the earlier songs on here are more popular, the ones like Moksha, Diorama, and El Dorado, is because those are the more like full songs, I guess. Like the rest, there's like 3 other songs crammed in there. For example, my favorite thing on here, one of my favorite moments musically in 2017 actually, on Sunflower, it's like the slowest start to a song. First there's a clip of a guy saying, "Have you ever been in love?" Which I kind of hate when like they do that kind of stuff. Like that's
a little cringy.
That's when like cringe starts to come out.
Yeah.
And like the same thing happens on at the end of Blonde, but I think it's done a little bit better, where they're like, "Hey, what superpowers do you want?" Or just like these like just really abstract questions, and then they have people answer them. But yeah, so the guy pitches, "Hey, have you ever been in love?" And he's like, "Yeah." "Was it good?" "No, it was terrible," or whatever. "It hurt." And like you're like, okay, well, how long is this going to drag on? But it doesn't linger. It goes into like some of those like just like the sounds that Andy hasn't really grown to love, and which I think is funny, because I think if you were to be a singer, you'd do a ton of that stuff just because of the way you talk.
Probably.
But okay, so it does that, and then there's a bit of a beat drop, and then there's just like this really dope, like spacey, like hard hitting, like
I have a note in here about it. Like Sunflower in particular had like these really spacey, really epic instrumentals.
It was so
like,
cool, and they don't stay
cool.
for more than like 20 or 30 seconds. And like I find myself like it's the hardest thing to like replay too, because it's in the middle of the track. So you have to like restart it and go back up to like the 30-second mark, and then it's only there for 30 seconds before it changes into something different. And it's kind of the beauty of this thing. It just like it's a bunch of little teases. It's like when you listen to Hood Politics, Kendrick Lamar's Hood Politics for the first time, and it's got that beat at the beginning, it just leaves you wanting more of like that thing that you can't have. And it's more frustrating, I think, than gratifying, but it's still pretty dope, because this entire like project is just a ton of those strung together. And then there's like 3 complete songs at the beginning, and there's like 1 at the end. But like The best examples of these are like there's two songs in there, tape side A and tape side B, where it almost just sounds like a bunch of outtakes strung together.
That I had a specific note on tape side A. I don't know I don't know if it was anywhere else in the project, but he uses like the same sort of chipmunk vocals that like Frank used on Nikes, and like. And I was just like, oh my god, like if he's not trying to be a Frank Ocean ripoff,
I didn't pick up on that. Maybe I don't know. And I listened to this a couple of times.
No, well, there were.
He's not the only one doing that though. Like ASAP Mob did that too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but it was executed in similar fashion to what Blonde had done.
Yeah.
So I just kind of came off a little bit too like. I don't know. I don't know if he was necessarily going for the Frank Ocean sound this entire time, or if he was just like that's what he was doing what he was doing, and that's what came out. But it definitely like had like very much a Blonde vibe.
See, and like I wouldn't call it like a ripoff though. I really do think that is kind of just like his own voice.
Well, yeah, it is its own thing, and it's definitely worth talking about.
Yeah.
Because it was a good album as it stood, and I would definitely see myself going back to it. I just feel like, if you're gonna be an original artist, you gotta have some like originality,
And I think he definitely brings that kind of with the mix he's got going here.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got. Not that Frank Ocean can't rap. In fact, I'd argue that he's one of the better rappers, and I wish he'd do it more often. But
okay.
But like, this guy, like you can tell, like rapping's a little more than a hobby to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not just like it's not when Beyonce or Frank Ocean rap. It's not like, oh hey, they got one more thing they're good at. It's like, oh, this is also part of the package. Like you should expect this when Choker decides to drop more music. And I just like that it kept you guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you go, even like when I went in to listen to Blonde or Endless or the plethora of other Frank Ocean singles that came out this year, you kind of knew what you were going to get, even though you didn't know what you were going to get. Like, you knew, all right, there might be some rapping. There's going to be a little bit of more experimentation. Maybe he's going to do something that sounds a little like shoegaze. Like, so it's not predictable, but it's going to it's not going to totally throw you like a curveball,
Mm-hmm.
Like, whereas with this guy, mainly because I didn't know who he was, it just kept you guessing till the end, and I really like that.
Right.
You don't get that all the time with an album. Like when you're listening to something like Smokepurpp, which we're gonna get to that, I kind of know what I'm gonna get after track 3 for the rest of the album.
Right.
So this was refreshing, and I don't love slapping like a grade on albums, but I would say this is worth a listen. It's pretty dang short. You could definitely just crank it out. It's a fun thing to run to too if you're into that.
I was just really enthralled by the instrumentals on here. Some of the instrumental choices. I thought that like you said weird instrumentals and stuff like that, but and I think that is like a strong point on this project. Like if you can't,
without the production, it's nothing, dude.
Right.
He's just he's the other Frank Ocean clones like Black Party. Put out Mango under Donald Glover's label, or like I know people are always trying to say that like Daniel Caesar is like kind of Frank Ocean-esque, but like they just don't do it. Like they don't, and I think it is the production side of things. Just like all these guys, they're pretty good writers. They're relatively like technically proficient with their voices, but like it's the production that elevates these things. Once Frank Ocean got his hand to the production and chose his team a little bit more carefully, his music got that much better.
And you said this was all originally produced, right?
I was gonna say, yeah. Like that's I know that your ears perked up when I told you about that, just because there are a few people I have more respect for than people who can deliver a coherent vision all on their own.
Yeah, I mean, it's really...
And he mixed and mastered it, too. He said that, like, when he goes to mix and master, it's, like, kind of like going to church. He just goes zen and just, like, gets it done.
Yeah, and, like, coming, like, from my perspective, like, being the guy that stands behind the... that sits behind the computer or whatever and bangs out those tracks or whatever. I'm not tooting my own horn here.
Peep my EP.
Peep my EP. I'm not tooting my own horn here, but like that's a really difficult thing to do. It takes a long time for you to sit there and be like, all right, this is a perfect instrumental. I also have to put lyrics to this. Like that's a whole nother realm of creativity that you have to be able to access.
I think that's why he does so much of the stuff that I think you don't like on this, where like he has on the song El Dorado, it's just 6 hooks. It's 6 hooks. It's 6 choruses, and they're all different. None of them are really verses. It's just a different way to do song structure. And I think it's because he makes the music, and then he's like, all right, I'm just gonna kind of riff to this for a while. And sometimes it comes out coherent, and he has some interesting things to say, albeit like abstract and very like drug influenced lyrics. I mean, I don't know if he does psychedelics, but it definitely sounds like something you would think of if you were on a psychedelic. And like the moaning too, it's using your voice as an instrument. Like he just kind of wants to get like one more layer, and I'd willing to bet that like a lot of it was just him at the computer or him with his guitar or whatever, just kind of getting his moans out, and he's like, oh, you know what, like I'll leave the mic on, and if I like that, I'll throw it in there.
Definitely.
Just a different way to construct an album. So
definitely, yeah, I can really admire his dedication on this album to making it sound as polished as it does. So, very very impressed.
You
with
just
that.
don't see that sort of thing with debut albums that often, especially ones that don't have money behind them. Like that's pretty wild.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's roll into our next artist here. I decided, so since it was such a dry week, I decided to delve into the old Smokepurpp. He's a rapper born in 1997 from Chicago, actually, good old Chi-town.
I didn't know he was that young. This makes it worse.
Yeah, he's really young. He's one of those up and coming SoundCloud rappers that are kind of coming up now. You know, Lil Pump is a frequent collaborator with Smokepurpp. You know, he's been with like, you know, XXXTentacion. He's been with I'm not sure if he's had any tracks with Ski Mask, but I know like they all kind of roll in the same posse because they're all coming up in the same sort of wave, same sort of era with the same type of sound. And
I got to say up front that these guys aren't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And I know you like them a whole lot more than I do. And I will admit, they have tracks. They got some good tracks. It's just I'm not the biggest on people who just kind of churn out music like it's a factory.
Yeah, I think somebody on the interweb said like this is like rap's punk phase or whatever. I thought I had heard that somewhere.
No, you
but
did.
Like,
I definitely saw it too. But they also lumped like Lil Yachty and Lil Uzi Vert in there, which I think these guys are a different wave than them.
Yeah. They thrive on the distorted bass, the weird, wonky, spooky instrumentals, and that's something that kind of like hits me. Like I like I like when instrumentals are a little bit more weird and wonky, as I was saying on the choker thing, and on this specific project, what was it called? Shit, what was it called?
Oh wait, you did the name of the project?
Yeah, what's the name of the
Deadstar.
Deadstar. Okay, Deadstar.
It's your album. How do you not know your album?
Because I just know it as the Smokepurpp project. So like, this is what always happens. Is I always forget the names of these albums. But I apologize. But that's yeah, Deadstar really has a spooky vibe to it. Like even the album cover itself is just kind of like a little spooky. But I'm not gonna talk about album
dude.
covers.
And like I don't know what it is, but like when I see the album cover, I don't want to listen back to it. It's like I see it and I'm like, this looks like something I'd see on Bandcamp. Just like I don't know. And that's not to say that everything on Bandcamp is not good, but like something about it just like I feel like this isn't it for him. Just like I don't know, like we're a little early to the show with Smokepurpp.
Right. Yeah, I can with a lot of these SoundCloud artists, you kind of I feel like I approach them kind of like, "Oh, I'm kind of early to this."
Well,
like these people haven't really developed their sound yet. They're not really there yet.
The whole thing just sounds underdeveloped as a package, okay? Like I'm not going to get into the music, but like an 18-track long tape for a debut, like a major, is it even major label? Just like a major streaming service debut, and like just I don't know, the album art and like just everything about it, the whole aesthetic, just like even before you dive into it, just I don't know, to me, it's kind of screamed amateur, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
especially because I mean, he's younger than us, dude.
Yeah, he is.
But like, I don't know, something about it just didn't get me super enthused to listen to it,
hmm
let alone revisit it. Which the only reason I revisited it is because you said we were going to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, like, what really turned me on to the project was Fingers Blue. Fingers Blue kind of blew up.
Which we should mention wasn't on the track list when it came out, and that was when I listened to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
I don't know why that's still a thing where like the big, well, Travis Scott specifically, he really must be like a hard guy. Well, he's not a hard guy to get a feature from, but he just must be like a hard like guy to deal with labels because like when Jeffrey came out, he was left off.
hmm
Was it Guwap?
Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, that's right.
Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, just like I don't know what it is with Travis Scott features, but like he gets left off of stuff and then they add him back and they act like it's like a big thing that he got added back. Which in this case, yeah, it is a big deal. But
Well, yeah. Every time you see like a highbrow artist like Travis Scott, like pairing with these new SoundCloud rappers coming up, like it always piques my interest just to hear what's going on there. And I thought it was a very good feature. I really like the feature. And
well, it is a good feature from him.
yeah. And that specific song, I've heard many of people say like they really like that song. They really bought that song. And
I think people just like Travis Scott, which
Yeah.
really still that sounds weird to me. Just because 2 years ago, we play a game of Circle of Death, and I would say,
Mhm.
"Hey, name a Travis Scott song." Let's go around. Like nobody would get one. Like somebody
Right.
would say, like Upper Echelon or something like that.
Well,
But, like,
he's entered like the mainstream now. He's in the mainstream.
I'm still in disbelief.
It's like it's Birds in the Trap came out, and like all of a sudden, like everyone I know, like Ronak is like all over that. Shouts out to Ronak. Ronak is all over the new Travis Scott.
I just think
Birds in the Trap.
I think it's so weird. Like I feel,
Yeah.
and I don't know why that was what did it.
Yeah, because it was like lazier. It was lazier than Rodeo was. Like I feel like Rodeo was for the people who had been listening to him and like wanted like him to like come out with a concise project, whereas Birds in the Trap was more like all right, let's get more
I
mainstream
think
success.
it's what people wanted out of the Weeknd almost, like in a very different way. Like with the Weeknd, he did Trilogy, okay, and like that's the same thing with Travis Scott. Like he did Owl Farrell, he did Days Before Rodeo, and it felt like it was building to something. Travis a little bit more blatantly, and then the Weeknd just went pop. Like I think Kissland was supposed to be that, and then he just went pop. Whereas like with Travis, I think he wanted to be pop, and he kind of is pop now. But like he got that one project out, which gave him that pop hit too. I mean, Antidote's still probably his biggest song now.
Probably
At least charting wise.
Antidote or Goosebumps or
I mean, I think Goosebumps is probably better known now, but Antidote charted higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think he got like that one album out, like that just pleased all the fans, and now it's just kind of extra innings
yeah
where he's just kind of doing whatever he likes.
yeah.
Neat stuff though, and I can't believe that he's as big as he is when you see someone blow up like that.
Yeah, but we're here to talk about.
I know. We'll
We're
get
here
back
to
to it.
talk
I'm
about
sorry.
Smokepurpp.
I wanted to talk about that more.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Travis is doing a lot of big things, but I like the thing I liked about this project in particular, Deadstar, was the more like kind of eerie approach to production and while his vocals, his lyrics are not always like very very intelligible, like it's it's like Lil Pump. It's like Lil Pump in that like yeah, he's as dumb as a jar of mayonnaise as Anthony Fantano calls it, but he just knows how to write a beat sometimes, and I think that and that's something I really liked about this project. So take it with a grain of salt, take it how you like it. If you're more of a listen to rap for bars or whatever, this album's not necessarily for you. But
don't even try it. If
Yeah.
you're going into this expecting that, you don't even know. Like,
yeah, but if you want like something like that like is starting to come up, starting to become more and more popular by the day, like production wise, like this is definitely something you should be taking a look at.
When you're looking at the features on here and you see Drum and Juicy J as the most lyrical features, like don't go into it expecting a lyrical album.
Yeah, yeah. But definitely give it a listen for all. Something else. Someone else came out and was like, oh, he sounds just like Playboi Carti or something like, or he's ripping off Playboi Carti or whatever.
You know what's weird? I like in a way I sort of agree, but like I think Playboi Carti has like 2 songs that are better than everything on this album, and then this album's better than everything else Playboi Carti has.
Right, and like
And
I feel like
I
feel like there's like a couple songs on here where he comes off as like, okay, yeah, I can kind of hear the Playboi Carti, influence coming out. But like nowadays, like Playboi Carti, I feel like is just a rip off of like some like Lil Uzi Vert, and like just a rip off of like other artists.
Playboi
and so
Carti, no,
like
dude, Playboi Carti is not a rip off of Lil Uzi Vert. They complement each other very well, but I mean,
but
he's the ad lib man. He's Roscoe Dash. Roscoe Dash the hook man, but like he's like the guy everybody wants, but I don't want more of his own music unless it's gonna be Magnolia too. Like I just don't.
I just feel like as opposed to like the Choker and Frank Ocean thing, with Playboi Carti, it's really easy to rip off his music. Like you don't have to have like any talent whatsoever to
Anybody
like.
can do it, and like that's why I don't get the hype around him. I don't know why he has this clout. It doesn't make any sense, especially because like before, I don't understand what the hype was before Magnolia. Like I still think that's the only like really listenable Playboi Carti song.
Yeah.
Like you can go back and listen to his debut mixtape, and like I still don't understand why it was like sort of acclaimed when it came out. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I guess maybe it was like aggressive social media marketing or something like that really like brought it to the attention.
I think it's like Yams Beyond the Grave playing like mind games. He's like, hey,
yeah,
he's kind of the reason Iggy Azalea blew up. Like I think they're just like taking bets in the ASAP mob to see how they can get the weed carrier up to superstar status. All right, like,
ASAP mob always kind of like really like they just put their clout behind people that are not always necessarily the most talented, like and most like underdeveloped characters.
Style over substance.
Yeah. And like I said the same thing about like Smokey Margiela or whatever his name is.
Also not a fan of him.
Because he's like 15, right?
14. He's
like 14, and like he hasn't really had enough time to like develop a sound. While his tracks may seem good and well polished or whatever, it's just he's just got the producers behind him. He's got people behind him, and like he's not. I feel like the come up is not the same for some of these artists that are coming up through ASAP Mob, and like they need to like hone their sound a little bit more than just, oh hey, here's like a top tier producer, let's throw this kid on a track and see what comes out or whatever. Like,
and you don't feel that way about Smokepurpp. You don't think he's like the kind of guy. You think there's talent there that's not just like because I don't.
Like I said, I thought where this project really shined was the production, but I do have the same sort of reservations for Smokepurpp as I do for everyone else, like that's coming up like this. Like, yeah, like they may seem good now, but like 10 years down the road, or like even like 2 or 3 years down the road, are these people going to be relevant anymore?
They're going to sound like Chingy.
Yeah, they're just gonna be like the ones that are like release and no one pays attention to except for their core fans. Like, I don't know. Like if they really want to get to that place, they gotta be able to do something that is unique and really stands out and just isn't just like riffing over a well produced beat.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have anything specific you want to point out about this project? Because that's about everything I have to say about it.
No, just if you're into that whole wave that's coming up right now, just give it a listen. And
if you like that wave, this is probably one of the better things to come out of that wave. But
Yeah.
Because I don't think those people can construct projects, dude. I think they're all just loosey people.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm surprised that there aren't more artists that just do loosies, I guess. Like I can't believe people feel like an album or a project is essential from like a guy like X or a guy like I mean I guess even sort of Smokepurpp. Just like listening to a collection of his loosies on SoundCloud would probably have about as much cohesion as this album.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see like why it needs to be like a big ordeal when he drops this much music. When he's already dropping a lot of tracks in the reg anyways, it just doesn't seem like doesn't seem special, I guess.
Right.
Okay.
So you got any shout outs this week? Something you're listening to?
Yeah.
Anything worth noting?
I'm still kind of on a bit of an alt kick. It's more of a rock kick now. Been listening to a lot of ELO again, which if you like concept albums, they've got a lot of albums with like themes. They got one about the weather and that ends with Blue Sky, and everyone knows that song. Just I like the early albums that kind of explore concept albums.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of neat. Because people either take it way too seriously or not serious at all. Like you go back and you listen to Sgt. Pepper's and people argue that it was like one of the first concept albums, but like it's stupid, dude. It's just because the beat. I mean, it's a great album, but like it's stupid to call it a concept album because like, oh, it's the Beatles. Like, yeah, they pulled off a concept album. They have one song, the first song where they're like acting like they're a different band, and then the last song they reference it again. But otherwise, the middle it's the Beatles. It's not Sgt. Pepper's, dude. It's stupid.
Right.
But yeah, Elo's got some good stuff that I've been listening to. I have a lot of stuff added right now that I just kind of haven't gotten around to. Like I'm gonna listen to "Squeeze" by Amine. It's just the single. I haven't gotten around to that, but I want to say
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Anybody who hasn't heard "Good for You," his debut, it was a pretty solid thing. It's nothing too lasting. Like I think a lot of the best songs on there were or became singles.
Mm-hmm.
Caroline, Red Mercedes got cut, but that's my favorite Amine song. Just like Spice Girls, that's probably the one that like nobody has really heard yet. That's still pretty tight.
Mm-hmm.
Just he's one of my favorite from the XXL freshman class. I think this single is probably worth checking out. Haven't gotten around to it yet. Wanted to shout out the Crit album again, just because I think this is probably as big as he's gonna get. And if like you're into it, he's got a plethora of other projects to listen to. Mm-hmm. You might have found your new favorite rapper
For
if
sure.
like this really clicks for you. I don't think we talked about it last week, but Earth Gang put out a new EP a little while ago.
Oh, Robots?
Yeah.
And I gave it a listen.
That was pretty tight. They've had a series of EPs lately, and they've all hit pretty well. I feel like Jeed, same sort of guys. I'm pretty sure they're signed to Dreamville too. They're all J. Cole's guys, which somebody pointed out they've been having a really good year for themselves. Jeed's like this like pop-up star.
Is it Jeed or J-I-D?
It's Jeed.
Okay.
Jeed, get the Yozy. It's just like, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could say J-I-D if you want. I think that's not wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like they've been having quite a year for themselves, and check it out if you like Boz. Who else is on there? Coz.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just like those guys. They're like, if you miss what J. Cole was doing, like back in his mixtape days, these guys have kind of picked up where they left off, and they're better.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Definitely clear some room in your library for Earth Gang, because I've liked like almost everything that Earth Gang has put out.
And
so
if
far.
you haven't listened to the Never Story yet, it's one of the best hip hop albums to come out of this year.
Yeah.
So check that. It's pretty hot. It's by Jeed. J-I-D. All right, Andy. What, I got some shout-outs?
All right, yeah. First of all, I'd like to give a little bit of a shout-out, just a little bit, to the new Migos single, the Motorsport, with Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, just because it had a lot of buzz behind it, and, it's our first little taste of what Culture 2 is going to be. Basically, Migos again.
I have a question for you.
What's that?
Sorry to interrupt, but thinking back almost a year out from Culture, would you still put it in top 10 projects of this year? because there was a point this year. It came out very early. It was a January release, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you were like, all right, this is the one to top. This is the best of the year so far.
Well, I mean,
and
yeah.
a lot has happened since then. I'm just wondering, would you still say it's top 10?
I think it's top 10 most notable or whatever of the year.
Just because it was kind of
just because
like a fixture of pop culture.
Yeah, just because it was kind of like, okay, Migos is like
they're here to stay.
They're here to stay. You know, they're really doing their own thing, and they honestly, like, they have every track they put out is just it's a banger. You know, they have
meme magic. It got us a president in office, and it got us the Migos in mainstream.
Yeah, they put out bangers. So I'm not gonna completely like disregard that project, but I definitely think over the year it's definitely not a classic. It's definitely not something that I would say, oh, you know, like this is the one to beat now, because like there have been so many good albums out since then that
okay.
You know.
And then I have two follow-up questions. One, did Takeoff ever end up getting a verse on a remix of The Bad and the Bougie?
I don't know.
That's stupid if he didn't. Like, what do they do at shows when they play that song? Everyone's waiting for it. Does he just leave the stage early? Like,
maybe he does the ad libs. Maybe he
does Lil Uzi Vert's part.
Does ad libs, yeah.
Yeah. No, just dude, that's so dumb. Like, why wouldn't like Ray Shremmer Unforgettable was like one of the biggest hits of the summer, and it was just a Sway Lee song that like was on a French Montana album. And I say a Sway Lee song because he's on like 70% of the song. And there's a remix where they fill in the rest of Slim Jimmy, and it's so much better than the original song. Why wouldn't they just do that? Like, nobody's really fiending for the Lil Uzi Vert part until they listen to it for like the 10th time. Cut that shit out, put Takeoff in, and then like everyone's happy. I don't know why that didn't happen. Second question. Sorry, didn't really get a response, but I think this one's.
No, I agree with you. Agreed.
It's dumb. I don't know why they didn't do that. And then the second thing, do we really need Culture 2 in 2017? Can't we wait?
No, they can put it off.
Can we wait 1 year?
Yeah.
And see, that's why I like hearing the rumor that Kanye is executive producing it, because I would like to see them. I want to see people do trap the way Future started to do trap with Dirty Sprite 2, where it's like a way more cohesive project. Where like it's not there's no story being told.
But when Culture came out, it was more like a mixtape.
Yeah, I want to see a mood maintained through a trap project. That's why Travis Scott was cool to me.
Yeah.
When, like I'm like, oh wow, this guy is making trap music that nobody else can make right now. And like with Future, on his like more developed projects, like he's making trap music that like not everybody can really make. I want to see Migos do that. I think they have the potential. And I don't think we really need a Nicki Minaj Cardi B song with them. I really hope it just ends up as a promo single and not on there.
I saw something on the interweb that like Migos say they're gonna be here for another like 20 years or 30 years, and I'm like,
dude, they're messing around. They're like, how can that be? Nobody is.
Well,
who is?
I hope they're messing around, or if they aren't messing around, then. They need to change.
Who's remained relevant that long? Even David Bowie, like when he was putting out like Black Star, like Black Star didn't get huge until after he died.
I guess maybe Dre.
30 years? Is that
not 30 years? They said 20 years, but you know.
Well, 20 years. Okay, yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, all right. You can do 20 years, but like you're not the Migos as the group, the Migos. I don't expect to see it around in 20 years. Quavo might be doing a T-Pain thing where he's kind of a little bit washed up, but he's still got some talent, and like he puts out some acapellas, and everyone's like, "Oh man, Quavo's great without autotune." But like, no, they're not. They're not doing.
Yeah, in order to stay relevant, you have to, one, change with the times, and two, still figure out how to incorporate your sound with the times. You know, it's not as easy as, oh, we're just going to keep putting out music for another 20 years.
They're just not that versatile either. Like, if you, hey, new Migos fans, they've been around for a bit. And if, like, you go back and listen to the stuff they were doing in 2011, it's pretty similar to what they're doing now. Go back. Hey, if you like Kelly Price and you want two other Migos Travis Scott collabs, They did a Quintana remix back in 2011, I think.
Yeah.
12. 13, my bad. Back in 2013. And it's hot. And it still slaps.
Yeah. I think the
and
whole
they did Sloppy Toppy, which, like, that's the song that got me into Migos. Like, they've sounded this way, and they haven't changed at all, really. Like, now they just have, like, better filters and, like, that are around more.
Yeah, I think everyone like every publication is like, oh, they're the ones that they're bringing Atlanta trap music to the mainstream or blah blah blah, and
Future
they're
already
the
did it,
culture.
dude.
They are the culture,
Oh,
and
God.
like I feel like that's getting to their heads, and they're starting to think, oh, we're at the top of our game. Like we can just
Well,
put out anything and it'll
they
be
kind of
gold.
do
Or
that, and that's why, like, I think Culture 2, it won't be a flop, but it just won't be like this. It won't deliver the same way. Like,
yeah.
it's just we don't need it yet. That's all.
Right. But I mean, if Kanye really is executive producing it, and
I bet that ends up being Bull, or I bet that ends up being like a Drake produced Beautiful Thugger
Yeah.
Girls situation where they're like, oh yeah, Drake came in here and gave Young Thug a thumbs up after listening to it, so he can put that in the Instagram post
Yeah.
promoting the album. Like, the only thing I believe Ye is actually producing right now is that Pusha T album and maybe his own album. Like,
Yeah.
you just don't have time for all that stuff.
I'm just interested to see what that would sound like.
I just don't,
You know,
well,
because like I don't necessarily I don't put Kanye in the trap artist genre. Like,
the only examples of kind of trap that he's been a part of are All Day.
yeah,
He produced part of I Don't Fuck With You. He did the
Yeah.
which, like, I like that in trap music. That's why I like that Sloppy Toppy song so much with the Migos, because, like, I like when they have the sped up soul sample. I like when people take the college dropout sound and then they try to mix it with trap. That's a good direction, and I can't believe that, like, that hasn't been done a little bit more. And like, when it is done, everyone says, oh, like, soul samples are passe, or like it's been done, been there, done that.
Right.
Because there's a song on 21 Savage's album that does the same thing. It's my favorite song on there.
yeah,
I don't think it's FaceTime. I forget which one it is, but like, where there's a soul sample going in the background, that makes it sound bouncier. That makes it interesting, and that makes it sound more than just hi hats and drums. All right, which, like, a lot of these songs kind of like have as their foley. Just like there's not enough going on, interesting instrument with the production side of things. Like, these guys, they can ride a beat, but, like, it's not a hit unless people want to dance to it, you know? And, like, with the Migos, Bad Bougie stands out, and, like, T-Shirt stands out as, like, these songs that have a little bit more going on. So I say hold off until they can, I don't know, sound a little different.
okay. All right. Well, let's move on to our final segment of the day. Because we don't have a certified fresh album of the week, I want to give a little bit of a stinker that I found on YouTube the other day. The name of the YouTube video is Snoop Diggy Puff Puff was awful even before he betrayed Trump. Okay, and this is from the Daily Wire, and I just wanna play for you a little bit of this. This is like a typical, like, conservative viewpoint of what rap is nowadays, and I just thought it would be a fun little discussion material. So here we go.
Piece out on our fearless leader. It's called Make America Crip Again. Now, I wanted to play this clip of the random noises and cacophony that he calls a musical piece, but unfortunately there's so much expletive in it that we can't do it on the show.
Yeah, no time to edit.
Yeah, it'd just be a bleep. It'd just be a long bleep. So I can quote the lyrics. Snoopy says, "The president wants to make America great again. F that, we gonna make America Crip again." Crip, referring to the gang that I guess he was associated with. Now, this is a marked change in hip-hop. Hip-hop is turning on President Trump now, but hip-hop used to love Trump because he was a symbol of conspicuous wealth and success and something to aspire to. So a young musician named Young Jeezy once warbled, quote, and I'm going to change a couple words because I don't want to get yelled at, quote, "Richest ninja in my hood, call me Donald Trump." There were 318 mentions, according to Nate Silver at 538, of Donald Trump between 1989 and 2016. Amber, why does hip hop not like Donald Trump anymore?
Well, because he's a Republican.
All right.
I mean, it's
Donald
fairly
Trump
obvious,
taking dollars from y'all, dude. It's been done.
So
They were ripping out like. When was hip hop ever like for Donald Trump? No, you can say yes. They admire wealth. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all it is. They were never saying he was a great guy or anything. Like, that's twisted to begin with. And also, do you think like how do you mess up a name that bad in
Yeah.
the internet age? Especially
I don't know.
he's an A-list celebrity. He's been around for forever. You know, this is really like dumb.
They go on to say why the question was why now are hip hop artists like starting to hate on Donald Trump or whatever, and then like this girl goes on to say, she's like, well, because he's a Republican now, like all of hip hop hates Donald Trump. And they go on to like just like literally like shit on like the hip hop genre because of its anti-conservative beliefs or whatever. But like I thought it was interesting nonetheless. The whole like, now that Donald Trump is now a bad symbol. You know, hip hop is changing its viewpoint on Donald Trump, and now, you know, before, what you're saying is true. Like, they never really necessarily admired him, I guess, but they do admire wealth, and it is very prominent in the genre that wealth is everything. Like, your clout is everything, and
I think rappers, producers, hip hop, really almost all music, because I think a lot of musicians are liberal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of have to be if you're in their career.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of up for grabs. It's like comedy, okay? It's funny until it stops being like a joke, or like the reality sets in a little bit too much, okay? Like, it's fun to rap about Donald Trump when he's just like this wealthy businessman who doesn't have a direct, even though he's probably pulling the strings beforehand, impact on your country's politics. You know, but then it kind of became a conflict of interest for a lot of them. So that's why it turns, you know.
For sure.
That, and when you have a president who has shown very open support for the hip hop community, and you lose that guy, whoever follows up is probably not gonna, do it for you.
Well, yeah, and like I don't know, like there are things to this argument that really like bother me, because like they talk about hip hop like it's like an umbrella, like
people
this
talk
is
about hip hop like it's a giant in the hills, coming down to visit the townspeople.
I don't know what
you don't know what that is.
I don't know. I've never heard that before.
Oh, that's Mos Def.
Oh, okay.
That's the beginning of Black on Both Sides.
Oh, okay, cool.
Come on, man, get knowledge.
But like I don't know, like they talk about hip hop like everyone in hip hop talks this way, and now everyone in hip hop is talking this way, and like calling it hypocritical for this and shit like that. You know, artists art changes, as we've said numerous times in this podcast. Like, art changes, and viewpoints change, and you know, artists should not be held to the same standard as like as politicians should. Like, oh, your views are this, so they must be this in the future and past that, and blah blah blah, or whatever. So it just seems a little ridiculous for me for this to even be a conversation topic.
It's clickbait, dude.
It's total clickbait, but like it got me. It got me. The title Snoop Diggy Puff Puff was enough for me to give me.
That's why they messed that up. There's no. Truth be told, I bet that would autocorrect to Snoop Dogg if you wrote that.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah. They definitely saw it, and they're
I know
that'll get us some clicks.
Well, yeah, I know that to be true, but like, you know, I still was interested to watch this, because like, you know, it's people that don't know shit about that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to fucking hip hop. So, you know, sometimes to hear them talk like you know, it's all bullshit. Like everything they say, like just comes off as bullshit because they don't know the fucking genre. But like, it's just like it was just something for me to laugh at, something for us to have a little goof over.
Hey, as a final question, I guess, if you had to pick one hip hop personality to become a politician, who would it be? I have my answer.
Joe Budden.
You can revoke that. You have 5 seconds. 5, 4.
Jesus. Christ. Well, what's yours?
No, I don't want to say mine because then you're just going to change your answer to mine because there's a right answer to this question.
What? Who would I want to be? President. I don't think.
No, not president. Like a politician.
I don't think I would trust any artist with handling political business.
Killer Mike.
Killer Mike. Okay, I can kind of see it.
I can get behind it.
But like
not. I don't want to be like you could be a senator. You know?
Yeah.
Why not, or a rep?
Oh yeah. I think he.
I want him to drop everything else he's doing and just do that.
Yeah, he's a little bit I don't know.
Too passionate and emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and like the way he kind of presents himself a lot of the times, like it's not I mean, you know, this really means like absolutely nothing looking at the president we have now. But like he presents himself as a non-political manner. Like I follow him on Instagram. He's always fucking smoking blunts and shit like that and posting it on Instagram. Like I don't think like
maybe that's the future, Andy. Maybe that's the new champagne in a glass at like a gala.
Hey, you know what?
If you're ready for it,
I'm ready for it. Let's get it going. But like, you know, if you wanna, I don't think like he'd ever get elected just for that specific reason. Like, you know, you're gonna need like a big base of people behind you, especially if you're trying to get elected in such a small scale like that.
Yeah.
You know, there are people that are gonna win out against you, so it's all wash.
Alternatively, if he wasn't like crazy half the time, Lupe Fiasco.
Okay. All right, maybe. I just don't really think like any of them have like.
It's a hypothetical, man. I don't want you to look too far into it.
Right. No, I mean, yeah, it is a hypothetical. It's just like, you know, I don't think I trust people to run a country if they don't know how to run a country, you know. If they don't know how to,
man.
If they don't know what they're doing,
let somebody into office who doesn't know how to run the country.
Well,
Kanye 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say much more about it, but it's definitely something that I think is reserved for someone who has a college degree, and who like,
okay,
you know, whatever, but whatever. This podcast should not be about politics. So
I think this podcast is about two guys in their basement having just a nice talk.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Always a good time to talk about.
If it takes a detour, it takes a detour, and that's why Smokepurpp's album review this week was just a digression into Travis Scott's discography.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week with hopefully a little bit more of a feature album. Okay. Thanks for listening. This has been Clef Notes.
Yeah. Hopefully something new comes out this week. We can talk about next podcast. So.
One Speed signing out.
Yeah. All right.